Last month, I wanted to finish the Mentor Schedule Maker and come close to finishing the KTANE Frequently Asked Question Bot. Although I had made much progress on both, neither of them are in a satisfactory state. Let's start with what I did for the KTANE FAQ Bot this month. As I said last month, the bot's prototype wasn't difficult to complete. However, I have been working with the author of another KTANE bot, one that is in the server, to integrate the FAQ commands within it. A lot of development time was spent figuring out how the bot worked, as there was no documentation. Luckily, the bot creator, Korsky, was very kind to answer some of my questions. He also suggested a new format to how to ask questions. The initial concept is the same, where a user, most likely an admin to prevent spam, uses a / command that creates a drop-down of all the questions within a category. When one of the questions is selected, the bot will send the answer. The only problem with this format is the drop-down selection has a 100 character limit, meaning most of the questions are cut off. I tried rewording the questions so they were either under the limit or the first few words would tell the user what topic the question was. The only known issue is that the drop-down does not reset, meaning the question that is already selected cannot be asked again unless a new question is asked. This is doable as the drop-down format is used within the bot for a different feature. Korsky has explained what I need to do on a surface level to fix the bug. Although I have used Discord.js to create bots before, I'm not familiar with the more advanced features like these, and they take time to understand. I asked him to explain a little more, but he has not responded within the past few days. I hope once I figure this out I can open the FAQ features for beta testing. Last month I said the only thing I had to do left was CSS in which I would use Tailwind. Unfortunately, not only was CSS not the last thing I needed to do, but I couldn't even get Tailwind to work. I think I messed something up when I first created the repo, but I couldn't figure it out. I think the only way to get Tailwind incorporated into this project is to make a new repo from scratch and port everything over, which I don't think is a priority right now. I decided to use pure CSS in the meantime. The homepage didn't need much since it's just text. I added a brief description for what each page does. At the top you can see the navbar has each link in a horizontal line. It's a lot better than having them vertical in the top left corner like before. The Create Mentor page is similar, but now all the content has shifted towards the center. There's now a button to reset the shift availability back to a blank schedule, just so the user doesn't have to manually reset it or refresh the page. The View Mentor page was changed so you can see 3 mentors in a row rather than 1. I may change the page so you can only see a certain amount of mentors at a time, but I'll have to talk to the people who will be using this application if that's even worth doing. I was going to start working on CSS for the Generate Schedules page, but I realized that the generation algorithm was only able to create schedules with 1 mentor per shift. It wasn't difficult to tweak the algorithm since I knew I always wanted this feature. The difficult part came from getting this information from the user, more specifically the filters. For example, if someone wants the 10 AM shift on Monday to have 1 mentor and every other shift to have 1 to 2 mentors, I need a lot more information than the possible people that can work that shift. The new filter component asks the user if they don't want anyone working that shift. If they check this option, the other options will be disabled as they're not necessary. If the user wants somebody to work that shift, they will need to say the minimum and maximum number of mentors they want. These numbers will override the global parameters. The user can also say who they specifically want to work that shift. The number of drop-downs that appear depends on the minimum mentor count. After I was satisfied with the format of the filter component, I then added some CSS to clean up the format of a few of the global parameters. I found a tooltip component that will explain what the parameter does when the user hovers over the question mark. I would like to add this to the filter options as well. I also made it so the user can toggle the visibility of all the global options and filters. They can also toggle the visibility of filters based on the day. The only thing I would add to this is the ability to make filters for the entire day. For example, if I wanted all of Tuesday and Thursday to have one mentor per shift and every other shift to have 1 to 2 mentors per shift, I would only need to make 2 filters for Tuesdays and Thursdays rather than needing to make 16 of them. Everything functional-wise works, with the exception of a crash occurring when I have some configuration of filters. I have no idea why this is happening. I've looked into this a little bit, but this is when I was coding for 30 hours within 2 days, and my brain wasn't working to the best of its ability. Now that I'm more rested, I don't think it should take me too long to figure it out. I spent so much time rewriting the filters for the generation page that I haven't been able to add more CSS to the view schedules page. Hopefully this is something I get to within the next month. Although I told myself I wanted to get at least one project done in a month, I set that for motivation rather than a strict deadline. These are personal projects and I do have some semblance of life outside this. However, there are some things I could do to make myself more productive. One of the main issues I have is a lack of planning. I did have a basic idea of what I wanted both projects to do, but I didn't think explicitly about how the project should do those things. I am familiar with tools and diagrams that help with this. Tools such as Trello, GitHub projects, domain models, and sequence diagrams. Although I have used these tools for previous projects, they were all projects where I collaborated with at least one other person. It's difficult to work with someone when you don't have good communication, and these tools definitely help with that. Sometimes I figure when I'm the only person working on something, I don't need to plan as much, which is true depending on the size of the project. However, one of the goals of this journey is to become a better software engineer, which includes documentation and planning. This means I should be planning a lot more before I start programming. I should think about what files I need and how they're going to relate to one another. I will start using these planning tools when I start my next project, which will hopefully be by late November or early December. I think working on at most 2 projects simultaneously is the best. That being said, I have been noticing myself being less motivated to work on these projects and wanting to start something else. It's not a good idea to stop working on a large project just to start working on another. Instead, I find myself implementing LFA for KTANE. A basic description of LFA, also known as Log File Analyzer, is parsing logs printed from the module in different ways to make the information more digestible. This can include adding SVGs and dropdowns or combining log strings. Depending on how complicated the mod and original log is, I tend to spend a few hours implementing LFA support for a mod. This can add up after doing a few, which is rewarding, but definitely not as much as completing one of my projects. Not to mention, the number of mods that need LFA support never ends, so it sometimes feels like a Sisyphus situation. In October alone, I pushed 16 commits related to LFA. I think if I didn't do LFA while completing challenging projects like this, I would be more productive with my personal projects. My priority is the Mentor Schedule Maker. Although the KTANE bot is in more of a finished state, I would prefer to get the Mentor Schedule Maker done before mid-December. This is when the fall semester of my college ends, and I would like to have a discussion with the academic organization the site is for to incorporate it into their current site. This means I have 2 main tasks: fixing the bug where the filters cause the crash, and adding CSS for viewing generated schedules. I have some other goals I would like to get done, but I'll consider them stretch goals that I'll only start once I finish the first 2. For the KTANE bot, I want to fix the bug with the dropdown so it resets back to its default state. Then I want to contact Quirksky and the moderators of the server to see if I can open the bot for beta testing. I also want to not do anything related to LFA for the next month, in hopes that it will give me more time to finish my task. My 2 concerns are the holidays coming up and these videos taking a good chunk of my time. I don't consider myself a good content creator, but I try to put as much effort as I can to make these videos somewhat engaging as they are informative. I'm currently writing this script on October 25th, so I can spend the next week getting the vid out by the 1st. I'll see how the process of making this vid goes, and re-evaluate my process next month. I'll see you all then.